I'd always, had that sort of inkling that I wanted to run my own business.
I think that's something that a lot of people overlook.
That was sort of the main thing holding me back at that point.
I think a really important lesson is that you'll always work your way back.
Looks like a big number, doesn't it?
Whatever your hand does, your mind will follow.
This year is going to be huge for AI. We have a system for creating systems.
G'day guys, welcome back to another episode of A Level Up. We are still down here in Tassie. We've got an absolute cracking one coming up for you right now. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. The builder we've got coming up for you now actually has his own design, won multiple awards. Huge big welcome to Luke Davies. Can we go back to your history and how you got in?
Yeah, so always lived in Tassie and grew up on farms. I was 14, we lived in houses, sort of a share farm over the place, so just always loved building. Always trying to make things better. The leaky windows and build myself a little workshop in the back lean-to shed and muck around fixing things.
I think you talked about all you wanted was more nails.
Yeah, built this big tea tree house. It was like 3 long and 3 stories high, and there were the tomahawk and the hammer and a couple of mates, and just wanted more sort of 4-inch, 5-inch nails to nail together.
It's cool, isn't it? Like true passion, isn't it? Like when you like I think we're very rare, very early age, and it's just where I think it comes from my great grandfather. Stories that I had him making things. I'm not sure, but it's when it's in your blood, you just don't you? Like it drives you. It drives me. Like
and I love still my love for the outdoors as well. Growing up on the farm, it's all child.
Yeah.
On a farm between sort of 300 and 8 acres, and you learn to work hard as well, like milking cows. You go to school, and when you get home and on the tractor and working weekends, and just have to use your common sense to fix stuff.
Yeah.
You're out over the back of the farm and the motorbike gets bogged or the gate's broken, and you're only like young teenager, and you're learning to fix these things and resolve these problems, and all those skills you sort of build up. They stay with you, and you still use all that sort of stuff today. And going through scouts, and the motto is always be prepared. It was a big part of my childhood as well. So. Yeah.
Watching your video, mate, it was almost like I was watching myself. I was the same. It wasn't our farm. My mum's family had farms, and then I was in the scouts. And there's lots of those early things you learn that flow through your whole career. Hey, when you put them into practice, but there's always a solution for everything, isn't there?
Yeah.
And but so how did you obviously you went through, you did your apprenticeship. I think you went into furniture making or something, didn't you?
Yeah, so I couldn't get an apprenticeship when I left school. Applied to heaps of places for a carpentry apprenticeship, and then the next pathway was there was a furniture, like a TAFE course. Yeah. Sort of here in Launceston where we're doing the podcast. So that was an hour from home, and I went in, done that for a few months, and then got offered a traineeship as a joiner and an apprenticeship as a builder. Yeah, right. But the apprenticeship as a builder was back in our hometown of Sheffield. Yeah. So I moved back up there, lived with my nan, started my apprenticeship, and I suppose set the roots back in the family home again, and eventually my parents moved back there as well, and been there ever since.
Yeah, awesome, mate. So where's that from here?
So it's an hour's drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, back. It's half hour in from Devonport where the ferry comes in out.
Yeah.
Nice backdrop, nice mountain rolling in the background, and most people go through there if you're going up to Cradle Mountain. Yeah. I think 1,600 people population. Right. We've been one of the Tassie's most respected in there. People come to there to see us. Yeah. Look,
if you're listening to this and you haven't checked out Luke's stuff before, go and check it out. It's Davies Constructions. But you also do design as well, which we'll get into a bit more. But how did you when did you make the transition from how did you go? Did you do your apprenticeship, subcontract carpenter, and then work your way into a builder?
So I did my apprenticeship. That took the 4 years, and I worked for my boss for 3 years. So it was only me and him when I started, and we grew I think there was about 10 of us when we left. So I was pretty much running jobs in my 3rd year, and we did everything as well. Yeah. So we do a lot of sub-trade work, and we do all types of work: concrete, renos, new builds, sheds, whatever we could. So I got a really sort of wide, range of experience and skills. Was
he doing similar work to what you're doing now? Or?
He did do a couple of really nice homes. Yeah. But we do all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
And then what made you take the leap to have a crack on your own?
I'd always, had that sort of inkling that I wanted to run my own business, and I'd spoken to him a couple of times about doing something together, and he didn't have the business set up to do that. And one of my mates just called up one day and said, I've just snatched my job and I'm going out work for myself. And I thought, I could probably do the same thing, and we could go and do some stuff together. Yeah. And I just went. I said to him, I want to go to subcontracting, and I kept working for him for a while. And then as soon as people heard that I was out by myself, I had like 3 houses. Yeah. People knocking on my door, because I had a good reputation sort of inside his company as doing good quality work and a hard worker. And
yeah, people can pick up on skills and attitude and all that sort of thing, isn't it? Like, because that's very similar. Like, I did the same. Like, finished my apprenticeship. I actually went and worked for my old boy for a bit, and then the developer that he was working for painting said, "Hey, you're a chippy," and like most people have heard my story, and I started doing that, and that's how I grew from there. But
yeah,
because I built a good reputation about the quality carpentry work I was doing, and I was able to run a big team. People just started like, "Hey, you want to build my house? Oh, you want to build my townhouses?" Like, the work just come in. So I think that's something that a lot of people overlook. Like, they think that because they're not a builder yet, or they haven't achieved something yet, that people aren't watching. But like, people are always watching what you're doing, aren't they?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so that, I suppose, doing that, it made it easier to start my own business. And I suppose going back a bit, motorbike crash. So I was sitting at home with nothing to do, and I'd already done my Cert 4, and I applied for my accreditation. So I was working for my previous boss with an accreditation for probably 12 months as well. So I was ready to go. When I finally made the commitment, I was sort of hanging around to help him and the guys. Pretty much, we good mates and got on really well together. So that was sort of the main thing holding me back at that point.
Then you just hit the ground running.
Thought I knew lots, yeah. Thought I knew it and hit the ground running, and turned out that I still had a lot to learn about both building houses and running a business.
Yeah. So how long? Like I mentioned in the intro, you've got a similar story to me again. Like, you had to sell the family home.
Yeah.
Like, how long into business did you get into trouble and realise you had to cut your losses and start again?
Yeah. So my property journey, when I was 18, I bought a block and developed that over a year, and then sold it again and made $100,000. I remember, going into the pub, and there's an 80, you wouldn't use your card in the pub, you get cash out, and I was getting cash out just up the street, and I had $102,000 in the bank, like clear with no debt. It's I was either 19 or 20.
Yeah.
So I used that money to buy a block, built my first house, sold and bought another for that, and started to build the next house.
Yeah.
So when I started my business, I was in the second house I built, and me and my wife done a lot of the stuff. Like, we'd done everything, plastered it and concrete and tiles and roof and joinery and nothing.
That makes it hard when you're that invested in it.
Yeah, so it's like we'd invested all this time and effort and weekends and everything into it, and then it was probably probably 3 years into my business journey where just had heaps of trouble with cash flow.
Yeah.
Again, we're doing good quality jobs and we were starting to win a few awards for our work, but the cash flow was really struggling.
Yeah.
And and I think I had the house for sale for 12 months. By the time that I knew that I needed to sell the house, like, I was hanging on to it, and then decided to sell it, and then by the time I sold it, it was just a massive struggle and a big journey. And
well, it's a hard situation, isn't it? Like, I again, very similar situation. Like, one of my biggest mistakes in life was holding on to things for too long.
Yeah.
Like, when you know things aren't right, you've just got to make that call. And I think a really important lesson is that you'll always work your way back.
Yeah.
The sooner you cut your losses, use the money, pay people off, get out of debt, and learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
And move on, the quicker you'll get back to where you were.
Yeah. It was a super hard time. Luckily, around that time I got into personal. I started to really, open my eyes up and to, how we can, choose, again, to reset, and we can choose how we want to feel, and we can choose how we react to the situation. So,
like, looking back now, what do you think caused those cash flow problems? Was it like choosing the wrong clients? Was it not knowing your numbers?
Yeah, not so much the wrong clients, probably just not tracking anything. You know, I'd quote a job and you wouldn't know, you know, if you made money or not till well after it's finished, and you're only running off how much money's in the bank. You've got one bank account with all the money in it, so it was like,
and
you just don't know. You don't know if you're making money on a job or not. Especially when the jobs start to get a bit bigger, and you just think putting more on is the answer. Like, you get the first thing people ask you when you're a builder, like, oh, how many guys you got now? How many guys you got now? That's like the measurement of you know, your success, pretty much.
It's stupid,
not you know, how much profit are you making, or how much free time have you got, and you know.
Yeah, there's far more measures to success than how many people you have in your team.
Yeah.
And I see that now. I see a lot of people on social media that have these huge teams, and like, I just look at them, know that they're struggling. And like, I know I really want to get into it with you about systems and processes, because I know you're big on it, but reality is that 9 times out of 10, if you've got a business that's got systems and processes, you can do the same amount of work with a third of the team. But most people just think the only solution is to keep hiring people to try and solve the problems. But in actual fact, you're costing yourself more money, because obviously that's increasing your cost. You're not charging anymore for the jobs, and you're just digging yourself a deeper hole.
Yeah, so that's the hole I was in, with putting on more guys, not knowing any of my numbers, just really green to business.
So was it like, can we dive into this a bit? Because I think this is where a lot of people go wrong, and I think 3 to 5 years seems to be that magic number. Like, that's where most people start to get into trouble, because like, you start out, you get a few jobs in the door, you have to get those jobs completed, so that might be 6, 12, 18 months or whatever, and then in that time you picked up a few more jobs. So yeah, normally it takes that 3 to 5 year period until you start to get in a situation you're like, holy shit, like, the cash flow's tight, I'm not making the money I thought I'm going to make, why is there no money left in the bank? And then, like, one thing I really want this podcast to do is help break that cycle. And so people just need to, if people can hit the ground running, it's why we're doing Live Life Build. Like, numbers is your number. Like, you have to know your numbers. And so numbers was the quoting of the labour and materials that you think you might have not have right, or was it knowing the actual how much it was taking to run your business?
Yeah, it was everything. So I was just doing quotes I got a sheet, like just a bit of paper. I just go down, do the bill of quantities, write it all out. The first couple I done, I do it, and I thought 10% was the number that you add on at the end, which covers everything.
The whole industry does.
Yeah, so I was doing that, and your progress payments or set up, we had cash, and then you've got this cash in your bank, and there's no metric or no way to see, there's no gauge or indicator to how your business is running apart from in your bank.
Yeah.
You don't know. You don't have purchase orders. You're not tracking budgets. So you've only got the money in your bank and maybe a bit of intuition or something going on in your head to see if you're making money or not. And then you've got multiple jobs running.
Yeah.
So some days you're on top of the world thinking you're doing really well, and some days you're like, holy shit, I can't. How am I going to buy groceries, and how am I going to pay the guys?
Where do you think that 10% come from?
It's been something that I'd heard people talk about. Yeah. And looking back, you'd think you'd be a little bit smarter and you'd work out your business costs and everything. But I think just the back of an envelope type of stuff, and when it's only you to start with.
Yeah.
When you think, 10%'s, I've got my sort of time in here as well. Then another 10%'s going to be pretty good, and you're focusing on a specific job to solve all your financial problems, not like an overall set of jobs or a business plan.
Yeah.
So you think, and then you get into the phase, I'm going to win the next job, and that's going to get me out of trouble.
Not realising that you're actually, if you do make money on the next job, it's not even going to cover what you're behind.
So you get in that phase, and then the phase I got in was I needed the next job so bad to cover the one before. You're just going in at you might be pricing against someone else or whatever, and you just end up in this cycle, and then you don't have cash. You don't have cash.
That 10% is such a shit number. Well, it really frustrates me, because I was the same. Like, I did exactly. I got in. I was pricing most of the materials and labour reasonably accurate. Well, back for the time accurately.
Yeah.
But like, my thing was also is on top of that, like, I didn't have, like, it's why we built QuoteEaze. Like, we have a fully detailed list of categories and items. Like you buy QuoteEaze, you've got a list of category items. You work through that list. As long as you might not need to put a cost or an item beside it, but it just makes you reference something. Because the biggest mistakes were, because I had no template or no list, I would just work through the standard things. And I remember one job I missed, like completely missed structural steel. And it was like a $36,000 cost. And I was like, fuck, like I should know that a job has structural steel in it, but because I had no template, no system or process around my quoting, I was literally just pulling out pieces of paper and going through on each job, made a new list, and yeah, there's lots of scenarios where I'm missing. But like the 10% thing, I think it's a really hard one because I firmly believe our industry does not understand what it takes to run or operate a building business. Like we know now from all of our data in Live Life Build that the average custom building business takes between 18 and 24% just to cover their running cost. That obviously fluctuates depending on the size of the team and business and all that, but that's an average.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you've got to put your company profit. But like you think about the documents we use in our industry, like our contracts and things, like a lot of the defaults, like I forget the wording, but like it'll say where you have margin and stuff in the contract, if nothing stated 15% or if nothing stated 20%, you think of our Live Life Build data, 18 to 24%. Like if you're using that default setting, you're possibly not even covering your running cost, let alone making profit.
Yeah, no, I agree. I can't remember where that 10% come from, but a lot of people reference it and use
it. It's talked about all the time.
Yeah.
Like I remember being at industry events, doing my licensing and even after my licensing, and people being in front of me telling the group that work out your costs, put 10% on, put 15% on. And so when you start pricing jobs, like this is what I did. Like we ended up with pretty big homes in our first few years, like 800,000, 1.2 million. And so you price it up, you put that 10% on, you're like, holy shit. $120,000.
Looks like a big number, doesn't it?
Like I do 4 of these a year. I'm laughing. And so I got in that mindset that I thought that was my money. But then obviously if you're not quoting things properly from the beginning and you're not knowing what your costs are, and you start to spend $120,000 before you've got it, you can get in a hole very quickly.
Yeah, and it's a disservice to everyone, to yourself and your family and your team and your clients. Yeah. If you're not charging the right for a job, you can't deliver the quality or the product that they're expecting either. So just getting all that down, and I've done the same thing with a spreadsheet. I think I missed some roof trusses and completely missed it off a job once, and I was like, oh, how did that happen? So that's where, having a good an asset or a checklist or a list to go through, it's only a sheet of paper, but there's usually lots of time that's gone in to make it, and it can save you, like you said, tens of thousands or $37,000, just by getting that steel work.
Yeah, mate, I think it's like with our QuoteEaze software, I think it's one of the biggest, it's a big asset to that software is that like it comes with a pre-configured list that covers everything from all your preliminary consultancy fees all the way through to your final builder's clean. But
yeah. So when I was starting out, like just getting cost codes and how an estimate should be laid out, and you spend tens and 10 hours of a night just trying to work out how a proper estimate when I started from scratch. I didn't get any off my previous employer, and there's no one talking on Instagram, and there was no network of anybody. You're just alone in your in the kitchen or at the kitchen table or wherever, just trying to work out how to do it.
Because all you see over social media is perception, isn't it? Like everyone's driving around in new dual cabs and American pickup trucks and like building these flash homes, and like no one's talking about the real. And I think it's a shame with stuff like that. And that's why you're sitting here. It's why we're telling these stories to help people, because a lot of people out there on Instagram that are, especially builders, that on face value look like they're killing it, are having the exact same problems that you and I have been through. So what was the turning point, mate? Like when did you get to, like, obviously selling your family home would have had some pretty big impacts on you and your family.
Yeah, so that got rid of some debt. It didn't really solve, I think we got a bit of cash out of it, but so we did that, sold the house, moved in with my wife's parents were travelling, so we were in their house for a bit, and then we built another place which we're still renting at the moment, which is another story.
Yeah.
Because we were supposed to be living in our house, we haven't even started building yet.
That's just a builder, isn't it?
It's just a builder, yeah.
Your own house, isn't it?
So the turning point, definitely the mindset stuff and the learning more about personal development, and then actually digging into not just learn how to build, but to learn business. And that's when I started to look at systems and assess and culture and
So you invest
all that type of thing
in yourself now. Like that's
I'm always doing something personal development wise. I think I've got like 430 audio books on my Audible account, and
holy shit.
I'm always listening to podcasts. I travel around. I travel to events and do retreats and all that type of stuff. So it's like now that's some of the best growth I have in the business. Moving myself from the business, letting the team sort of step up, do their thing, don't interrupt. I go away, come back with lots more clarity and ideas and energy.
Yeah. I think that's a really important point. And look, for everyone that's listening to this podcast and that has listened to all my podcasts, if you haven't picked up by now that every guest that I have on that has worked their way out of trouble or that is being very successful has all spent time, money and energy on themselves. I think it's something like, I don't know, I just wasn't brought up in a family that did that type of thing, and it was very foreign for me. And even though there was things would pop up or I'd get asked to events and I was interested in it, I was always like, oh, I can't afford it, or I won't get anything out of it. Like I was always very negative towards it. But it's the biggest turning point in my life, and I'm addicted to it now. Like similar to yourself, like I just can't get enough of it. And would you agree that like every $1 that you invest in yourself, you get 10 back?
Yeah, definitely. And that's where I get my sort of inspiration and motivation from.
Yeah.
That's what's going in your ears changes your state.
Yeah.
Whether it's a song that ramps you up, or an awesome podcast like what you do, or a good book. It just gets your mind in the right state, gets the juices flowing, and it really helps me. That's my little hack.
Do you take notes? Do you journal and stuff?
I journal. I've got an app on my phone called Duayne that I take photos of what's happened through the day, and I journal that. I think I'm on like a 240-day streak or something at the moment, because it tracks every day that you do it. Yeah. And then I've got a hand journal as well. I'm not consistent with it. Yeah. But again, lots of personal development guys will tell you that's the number one thing. Just journal. Like it's super. Put your thoughts down. Ask yourself a few questions.
Yeah. I'm pretty big on it. I don't do it every single day, but and I don't know, not even just so much journaling, but I write a lot of things down. Like my whole career, I've always had a diary or a journal or something that's with me every step of the day. Like even on this trip now, I've got 3 different notepads with me.
Yep.
And at home, I got one on my desk, I got one beside my bed, I got one in my truck. And it was funny because I went 2 weeks ago. I went to Robert his last name wrong, Kawasaki
Rich
Live. Yeah, Rich Dad Poor Dad. And it just clicked with me. The 2 big things he said for the day, but like one was whatever your hand does, your mind will know. And he just he was pointing people out in the crowd and saying, why aren't you writing notes? Like, where's your notepad? Like, whatever your hand does, your mind will follow. And I was like, man, that's what works for me. Like, because I just know if I try to remember something, it goes in one ear and out the other. Yeah. But if I write it down, I can.
It'll surprise you what you write sometimes too.
Yeah.
Because you might be thinking something, and then when you actually start to write it in journal, you write down, what you're feeling, or you write down what's happened and what you're not happy about. And that's, I've just by journaling is, probably it's a reason I put people in charge of my business, and I've hired a general manager, and because I've been writing down all the things that I'm thinking, and instead of just thinking it all the time and it's in the back of your mind.
It gives you clarity,
and you not do it. You write it down. It gives you clarity. Oh, actually, I've just written this down. Or why don't I do it? It's pretty simple. So it's and one of the turning points, I suppose, going back was I read a book called Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah,
it's just one of the
awesome
original sort of self-development books. That was one of the first books I wrote, and inside that was some activities. There was a phrase you would say. So I wrote that down. I'd read that when I was in this real bad spot of selling a house, and I just did what the book said. A lot of people read books, and if you just followed what that one person said in that book, you'd probably be successful. But it's, people just take those ideas. But if that's why I love books so much. Someone's distilled like 5, 10, 15, 20 years into something that you can consume in
it's
10 hours of audio.
And like people will hold back. Like that's how I look at events and retreats and seminars and stuff now. Like you can get into someone, like that was the same with Robert the other weekend. Like he all up throughout the day, he probably spoke for about 3 hours. Like you get to sit in front of someone, like for whatever it is, $300, $1,200, whatever it is, and get to hear, like with him, I think it was 48 years or something of investing and knowledge, and like it's priceless. Like the so like when you're in that low point and you're realizing that things aren't going the way they need to go, and you've got to sell the house and stuff, like it would have affected the mental health, I'd imagine.
Yeah, definitely. That's, again, you don't show it though. I never. Just learnt ways to deal with it. Yeah. And I suppose, if I hadn't have got into personal development, who knows what would have happened. Yeah.
So you've turned things around in a pretty big way, but like you're addicted now. Like you've set up now 6 different.
Yeah. So we've got, I suppose, learn how to build houses really well, and now learning how to build business.
Yeah. And is it
both building or buying? No?
Yeah. Are all your businesses built around building?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all got something to do with a problem that I had as a construction company that I couldn't find a solution for.
Yeah.
So, tried using other companies and couldn't make it work properly, so I just went out and started it.
Yeah. So what's your other businesses?
So the main one is our design business called Align. We started doing design and construct stuff in the construction company for the simple reason that the plans were shit that we'd get from other designers or architects, and that we'd have no say over the quality of the design. And one of my aha moments were we won a house in Australia for one of our houses, and my general manager at the time, it was his house, and he'd done a lot of the work on it himself, and he wasn't a tradie, so some of the quality wasn't up to our standard, but it was his own house, so it didn't matter.
Yeah.
But when you walk into that house, the design was awesome. You just got this wow feeling, and it just that just blew the judge away. And the images were awesome. So it just got me thinking that's the more quality of doing awesome quirks around your architraves and all your joints 100% spot on. It's got to do with the quality of the design as well. So I really went down then that design sort of rabbit hole, and then hired designers and architects, and then we had other builders asking us in to do designs, and we'd get inquiries all over the state, and we created this design company, and now so I suppose there's probably not many architecture companies that have been founded by a builder, and our core focus is on giving the builders the information that they need on the plan set, because that's where 99% of the problems come from on the construction site.
Definitely.
Because that's the point of communication between
everybody.
Think,
like, that's definitely a big issue, but I think the other side of that is there's no collaboration or communication. Yeah. Like architects want to do their thing in their way, and builders want to do things their way, and
I know you guys do like your pack process.
Yeah.
We do something called it's just a term out of commercial called ECI, early contract involvement, which it's pretty much similar. So it's the architect, the builder, and the client. We work together right from the very start.
Yeah.
Go through the whole process. So Align's set up to do that, to be an architecture firm that works with the builder
it's
on negotiated tender or ECI through the whole process. So you're looking, it's all in the client's. We've got an agreement, like this is the client's best interest. We'll work through this, and
it's the only way to do business. Like everyone's got to be on the same page, and it's a better business model for everyone. Like designers and architects aren't redrawing things 100 times and a lot of time not getting paid for it. Builders aren't on site scratching their head trying to figure out where the air conditioning ducting is going to go, or the clients come on site and ask for something to be added on and then the builder's trying to solve it on site. Like when you're all working together as a team from the beginning and it's all right on paper, that's like, again, that's
so much easier. We've got jobs that are from other architects. They were still awesome houses. And you got like 60, 70, 80 construction variations.
Yeah.
Because the decisions have to be made somewhere. So we make them all in the design phase. And, you know, when we've got a job that we've got like a couple of variations.
Like and they might not even be variations, but when the early process is done well, there shouldn't be any RFIs on a job, should there?
Yeah, there's
you might be the odd
there's
one.
always going to be something that pops up, but yeah, definitely. The admin time it takes for our office to run, you know, a well-designed set of plans from our architecture company versus one that hasn't gone through the process. It's chalk and cheese for the amount of that. You know, there's hundreds and hundreds of hours in the office that don't need to happen, and it's not. It's just, again, it all comes down to systems process when the information's been put on the plans. Like everything starts with design. Everything starts with the design of the building.
Yeah.
And usually it doesn't come down to other architects and designers not wanting to do it. It comes down to their processes and where they see the value, and then the fees they charge as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. It all comes
if
back.
you don't have time to do it, how can you put that information on the plans? But
yeah,
everyone would rather build off it, just the clients, the guys on site, the subbies. If your information's on the plan, you know, it just makes everyone's life a lot easier.
Everything's easier. The job's more efficient. Generally, you can price it better. It's going to cost the client less. The time frame for the build's less. Like, I feel like I know from the all the architectural jobs we've done in our time. And look, this is probably throwing a blanket over all architects, but I've always found like a lot of the time with a lot of them, they're showing the final finished product, but they've missed a lot of the finer details to get it to that. And when I say that, like it might be like I know I'll give it an exact example. Like we've done a few jobs that have got either zinc or copper, really detailed cladding on them, and they'll want a very particular drip edge or folded seam setup, or they want a particular size quirk around something, but there hasn't been enough detail on the framing or the structure behind that needs to be built up to get to the finished product. If you like, I don't know if I'm making sense, but like obviously you have your main frame and your main structure. You might have some structural steel, but like if you want to end up with a blade wall that's a certain width and you want a certain size seam folded and you want a certain size drip edge and all these type of things, you've got to work backwards. And I know back in the early days, like it was always me and my team on site having to come up with a solution to how a steel beam got packed out or how a frame got built. And we would have to do the little drawings and work backwards. And like now I find with our process, like because I'm at all the design meetings, I point things like that out. And I'm like, oh, look, if you want to get that finished there, that's going to cause this problem on site. Like, it'd be far more efficient if we could do this. And we can actually use this other product. And, maybe we should take that timber out there and we should use structural steel because it'll be less. Like, you can have all that discussion before you get to site. Like, it just makes so much more sense to me.
Yeah, and it's so much more valuable. Like, having the builders, however many years of knowledge, you know, sort the plans out through that process.
Yeah.
You know, the only fear people have is, you know, I can't get a quote or I can't compare it to another quote. But really, if you know,
well, there's nothing to compare, is there?
Like
right. if you're in that core team, architect, client, builder, and everybody's at the meeting, and you've had all those discussions, like this is one of my arguments now. Like, how do you relate all that IP to another builder to be able to give you a price? You can't. So you've really got to build. You have to choose a builder and an architect. Like, I'm all about the team. Like, you have to choose a team.
Especially when you're trying to build architectural homes or dream homes, as we call them. Like, you know, you're building project homes or unit development's all the same or something, but you get into the custom and the architectural home, there's only one way to do it, and have that team, the architect, builder, client, all work together, and it's the only way to get that ideal outcome. Otherwise, you're going to have blowouts and you're going to have waste in money, time and benefits. You know, you're going to have all that sort of wasted effort. And
mate, I want to jump into systems. So you're big on your systems, aren't you? Like, that's how you obviously manage to get away and do self-development, that sort of thing. So what sort of systems does your team have?
So I suppose our culture, and whenever I set up a company, we try and set the culture up around system driven and asset creation. So any frustration or bottleneck or issue you've got in your business usually comes back to not having the right asset, and an asset's like could be an email template or a estimating checklist or a brochure to explain your pack process or an onboarding process for your team member. It's all these things. It's your toolkit, I suppose, for business. You can't fit a nice architrave if you don't have a nice sharp drop saw. You can't run a business if you don't have the right tools inside your business.
Yeah, we call them props, but exactly the same. Like I don't think people understand the value of systems and process. We're huge on it in Live Like Build. We've like over $500,000 building a systems library, but even just something as simple as like handling inquiry. Like if you have a system for handling inquiry and every single inquiry gets handled the exact same way, the amount of time that saves, like there's no checking, hey, inquiry, what do you want me to do about it? Or hey, this inquiry's come in, it says this, what do I do? Like there's a process. Like just follow the process.
Yeah.
And follow that process until it gets to a point where they need to talk to me. Like they meet all our criteria and we organise a meeting. And like that's just for an inquiry. Like then you obviously flow that through to managing all your sub trades, and we've even got a system for how we have a weekly site meeting with a client.
Yeah, we have a system for creating systems. So there's so I knew systems were important in business, and you hear people talk about systems and process, and systems will set you free, and systems will give you time, and so it just come from every direction. I want to always deliver the highest quality product to the client that I can.
I think it's like one of those woo-woo things. Like people hear the word systems and processes and they just think it's never going to happen. Like how do you get freedom from a piece of paper or a document? But like an accurate system or a process is all about having the right person doing the right thing at the right time, the right way.
Yeah.
And so if you think about all the problems you have in your life and business, generally it's because someone doesn't know what to do, so they're chasing you up or wanting information or questioning something you've told them. They're not sure on the outcome you want, so again they're tying you up with phone calls and trying to get extra information. Or they're assuming something and doing it wrong and stuffing it up, which is then causing you as a business owner more problem and losing money, and like they solve so many issues. Like I'll be honest, like I didn't understand them. That's probably because I didn't understand them, I didn't see the value in them. But I think it's definitely something that all business owners should put more time and energy into.
Yeah, you every now and then you can find the right person, like a really awesome person that can do the job without needing a system, but it's pretty rare.
Yeah.
And then even then, if you got a system in place, they can perform even better.
Yeah. Do you get buy-in from your team? I always say that it's not my way or the highway. Like this is a starting point. This is a document. This is like give me input. Give me
if
feedback.
They know why. If they know it's because then they can take 3 weeks off themselves without knowing their job role, and things are still going to happen. They don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Because that's what a system can do as well.
Yeah.
Or a process. Yeah. The team buy-in.
So how did you? Have you done courses on systems or?
So I books, checklists, systems.
Yeah.
The Checklist Manifesto was a pretty cool book, and it's like
I haven't heard of that.
There were so many. This checklist they brought in for doctors to wash their hands before surgeries.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a stupid idea, but I don't know what the percentages were.
Yeah.
But it saved like 70 or 80% of infections in the operating room just by someone ticking a checklist before they go and operate. Same with pilots; they always go through a checklist before they take off, even though they do it every single day.
Yeah.
My kids, when they walk out the door, it's like, get your drink bottle, get your bag, give mum and dad a hug, put your shoes on, brush your teeth.
Yeah.
It's like that's just a mini system.
Yeah.
And if they don't have that, they never do it, and you have to ask them and hound them every day. So I just read books. The book and the thing I've just gone to in the Philippines.
So what was that? Who was that with?
Dave Jennings wrote a book called Systemology.
Yeah.
And he goes through talking about, because I always make things super complex. My brain, like I'm getting all this information from everywhere, and I'll try and make a system or a process sort of complex before I can sort of simplify it.
Yeah.
So he just really simplifies the way to make a system. He's got something called a critical client flow. So you just go from inquiry to handing your job, and you just go down through the core things that you have to do to deliver your core product, and you forget about everything else. And it's just, what are the core things I need to do to deliver the product? And then you just start with that. And that's when I start a new business. I actually start with that flow. So from inquiry to here, and there's probably only 5 to 10 steps. Yeah. And then that's what I focus on, systemising, and I find the most knowledgeable person in the business that knows the most about that thing, and we extract it either through a conversation that we record or a screen recording. Then we write to an SOP, and then that's version 1. Yeah. And then you might, through your career, you might have version 20, but if you can get that sort of version 1 system documented for the core thing that makes you money, the key that I've found is simple. You've got to sort of keep things simplified.
Oh mate, that's my big thing. Like, if it's not simple and I wouldn't use it, I know for a fact the rest of my team won't use it.
Yeah.
But do you feel each time you create a system, do you feel like you're floating on air? Like you've just got rid of all this shit out of your head?
Oh, definitely. Especially through what you said, the inquiry system. Having inquiries everywhere and bits, leads written on blocks of timber and bits of cardboard, and just create a simple form. So everyone comes into this bucket. Then there's a process for what happens to them from there. Yeah. Having the we're always improving. Like now, I want to make a few more videos for when people inquire, to explain the process a bit more, so you're not repeating yourself over and over.
Yeah, we got a little. I think it's only like 90 seconds. We got a video that's embedded. So when they get our inquiry form, it's just a little video there of me telling them this is our pack process. This is why it's important. Yeah. You be honest with me with your project spend, because that's going to help me give you more information. Yeah,
well, that's an awesome little system that will save you. You can still talk about that, but that's already in their head then, and they already know about it, and it might save 10 minutes on the phone call. Or
well, even that one, like they've still got, I don't know what it is, 8 or 10 questions they need to fill out. Yeah. Just, mate, I know for a fact that little video has probably stopped a heap of time wasted filling out our inquiry form. Yeah. Because I just tell them in the video, like, that because a lot of people want to express budget to you. And so the biggest point I get across in my little video is why the budget's so important, and I can only help you and give you honest feedback if you're honest with me and tell me what you want to spend on your project. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just wasting all of our time. Yeah,
you got a specific service for a specific thing, and it doesn't fit everybody. Yeah. So you need some way to filter that at the start. So it's good. Yeah. So that's it. And then we just keep developing the systems, I suppose. And then another thing, I tried to make our project management system too complex. So when you think about project management software, it's who's doing what by when, not how to do something. Yeah. The how to do something, would sit in your SOP or your standard operating procedure. Yeah. So it's just, and then you just got a nice clear, this person's doing this by then, process. And if they don't know how to do it, it's the first time they're doing it, then they can go and check the SOP. And if there's a problem and something's gone back, then you can go back through and trace it. And you're not blaming the person, you're blaming the SOP, and then you can go back and say, oh, actually, I think you missed this step, or this step was wrong, and then you can upgrade that. And it's a good way to, have that continuous improvement as well.
Yeah, no, it's like now that we have them, it's a no-brainer. I can't believe any business would operate without them. Yeah. What's your thoughts on? There's 2 things I want to get to before we wrap up, mate. One's AI. Because I know that seminar you went to talked about some AI stuff. Like, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, this year is going to be huge for AI. This year and next year, it's just going to change the game. How we operate. So you probably use GPT chat and sort of touched on a few of these basic sort of large language model sort of AIs that can be sort of good and hit and miss.
I don't know. how much it's going to affect the on-site stuff, but I know definitely in the business side of things and the admin side of things, if you're not investigating some AI tools, like, you're going to get left behind.
Yeah. So so I suppose what we're doing and what's coming is you'll be able to create your own data set from what you're doing. So all the stuff you do in your business, you've already got it. You've got processes and systems, and it's all recorded. You'll be able to put that into your own model, your own data set. So when you ask a question, it'll pull from that before it pulls from the large language model.
Yeah.
So it'll source. So if you've got someone on your team or a customer's got an inquiry, the AI can answer all that stuff and have a full conversation. I accidentally turned one on the other day, and it's having conversations with people on Instagram, and it sounds like me. You wouldn't really know any difference.
Yeah.
Just some stuff we're testing. I say the same thing all the time. All the sales calls, all the brief collections. It's all that. If you've got all that information collected and you record that and you just keep it there, so when the technology is available, say in 12 months, dump all that in your own, pretty much specific to your business. Any information you want will be at your fingertips. Anything the client wants to know, that'll be able to answer the questions, and then it'll back it up with the large language model or the GPT chat now. But at the moment, if you ask that, it's not going to be specific to your business. Yeah. So you'll have this new technology that sort of sits in between.
I think it's going to be huge, mate. I think everyone needs to start paying attention to it. It does scare me a lot, especially it literally only has to watch a 5-minute video of you and it can replicate you.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're gonna have to make sure you got a lot of security stuff in place. But it's definitely going to be a game changer, especially for some businesses. Like, it'll be able to take care of a lot of stuff. Have to employ admin staff for.
It is like when I first started, like me trying to work out how to build a website. It was like, domains and hosts and CMS and this and that. You can literally go onto a site, tell it what your business, generate an entire website. You don't have to worry about connecting anything or doing any of that stuff. So everything, it just gets easier and easier.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's going to be, it's exciting and scary at the same time, but it's going to be a cool tool, and just recommend anyone listening just does a bit of research into AI and puts it on their, put it on their radar, and it'll affect site as well. I just don't know how. I just got no idea. None of us have any idea what's going to happen over the next few years.
In a lot of this, like 3D printed houses and stuff, I just can't see how it will come into like renovation and custom build when there's just so much intricate stuff. But it's like, look at how quickly it learns now. So yeah, never say never, I guess. But
yeah, that's the thing with it. It can be have no experience as well, and it gets access to the data, and then it's been the world at it by the end of the day.
It's something that industry needs to pay attention to. Like, it's not just going to go away, and it's not something that we should just say, it'll never happen in our game. Like, I think it will. Yeah,
something needs to happen in the industry. Yeah. I imagine an AI that complete business operating system, and that, like an AI that can do all the stuff we've been chatting about with all your numbers, and you'll get to a point where you'll have all that information at your fingertips. On your phone.
Yeah,
make it easy for small businesses to run a business.
Yeah, it's definitely going to make life. I can see it now. It's already making a lot of like marketing side of things and producing posts and like all that type of stuff. Like, I think that's the exciting part for me now. Like, I see a lot more opportunity for small businesses. Like I said, you'll be able to pump out blog posts, social media posts, marketing, and inquiries without having to employ a staff member.
Yeah.
So with that sort of stuff, I think it's really exciting. But mate, the last one I had down that I really wanted to chat to you about, I know you're passionate about sort of more efficient homes, reducing building waste and that type of stuff. Like, what are you guys doing to help that side of the sustainability?
Yeah, so that's the main reason I do anything I do. So back when I was trying to find my why, my purpose, and got into all this personal development stuff. When you learn it and you want to teach it to someone else, you think, let's learn all this cool stuff and breath work or whatever, I want to teach to this other person or how to run your business. And, I was in that sort of phase, and then just clicked that, I know heaps about building and the built environment and design. My purpose can be, using all that knowledge to affect what we do to improve the health of the planet through our built environment.
Yeah.
So everything we do now is focused on that. You know, we're not. It's all little baby steps, but it's all heading that way. So yeah, the healthy home stuff, the building biology stuff, the building science, the passive house building, all that sort of stuff I'm right into. And
so what do you think the way the future is for this type of stuff? Like we've got another business we're working on behind the scenes. Like I really think, like the rest of the world's doing, Australia's sort of left behind a bit. I'm really keen on modular sort of prefab, built off site.
Yeah. So some of the stuff we've got in the pipework is that we're planning a factory to build panelised building envelopes.
Yeah.
So in a panelised form and
so like floor cassettes,
floor, wall,
frames,
and
roof,
ceiling and roof cassettes.
Yeah.
I've travelled through Europe and looked at a lot of manufacturing facilities, and going back there in a few weeks if my knees up to a long flight.
Luke turned up today with his leg in a brace. Yeah.
So that's one thing. The factory, I think that's the future of how houses will be put together.
Yeah, it has to be. It reduces waste.
Because it's happening. Quality. Yeah, it reduces waste. That's right. Then the design side of things, and bringing in more sort of process and AI, and bringing in the tools that we need to design in a modular form into the design business, and just educating everyone through those businesses. Like we're phasing, we'll do less and less of the architectural homes and more of the sort of the modular stuff.
Yeah.
Because if we've got to spend time somewhere, I'd rather spend time and energy of my guys and my time.
Australia's got to catch up, don't we? Yeah. Like they do it so well in Europe with all the prefab modular type stuff.
Yeah, well, guys my age over there, when I was over there, they'd never stick build a house.
Yeah.
Like even through their whole apprenticeship, like that's, we're just way behind the times.
Yeah.
That's everything's sort of modular. It's a different climate, I suppose, but in Tassie, it is a cooler climate and it works. That type of thing will work well down here. So it rains a lot.
Yeah.
So having your building envelope being able to be put together within a week, and your house is watertight, you still do all the rest of the work on site, and you can still do any type of design.
It's just, I feel it's better for everyone. Like the work environment's better. Like employees can actually come. They're not out in the sun or in the rain. They can have a lunchroom where they can actually stand and have lunch, like not sitting in the mud or in the heat or whatever. But
make it more efficient, hopefully more cost effective and better quality and less waste.
Less waste. Like you can. I think you can explore use of materials a bit more. Yeah, I think there's huge possibilities with all that built off-site stuff. I think there's definitely a few companies in Australia that are doing it and doing it quite well. But yeah, I think it's...
Yeah, we'll just do it on a small scale to start with, and see how it goes. And we're looking at procuring materials from different places, and with the building biology stuff, we're looking at healthy materials.
Yeah.
So we align to nature, and anything we do, the happier and the healthier we are. So any type of more natural product is huge, definitely better. Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard yet. I don't know if you listened to the podcast we released a couple of weeks ago with Paula Baker-Latrobe.
Only like 5 minutes of it. Yeah, I haven't listened to the start of it.
Like have you read her books? The time
I've got them. Yeah, I haven't read them yet.
Yeah, no, I'm only halfway through one of them, but it's the way she talks about it, like what her and her husband have done for healthy, like the healthy home movement in the last 30-40 years is just incredible. Like she was such a good person to interview, and I can't wait to get to the States and catch up with them. The way she talks about, like, and people think I sound like a broken record, but this sort of stuff really, really excites me now. Like she talks about how people think that when they have holidays from work and they come back and they're refreshed and a different person, it's because they've had a week away from their job, and that's got a little bit to do with it. But 9 times out of 10, when someone has a holiday, they go to a destination they're looking forward to, and normally that destination is either in the mountains or fresh air or by the beach or in the ocean or going on a bushwalk or a hike. Like they're spending time back out in the elements. When you're working, you're not getting to do that. So it's not so much that you're away from your job. It's actually that you're doing what humans are meant to do. Like you're getting back to nature, you're walking bare feet, you're breathing fresh air, you're exerting energy, exercising.
Yeah, I don't know how humans even operate in, the society. The buildings and the off-gassing of everything, the air quality and, the technology, and especially in cities.
Yeah, and that's like in my building business, that's our big driver now, like just educating people. And I'm sure you find the same thing. Like it's amazing how, like, this is where the magic happens. When you're passionate about something and you speak from the heart and you put it out there, you attract like-minded people that are interested in that, and that's your perfect client.
Yeah, and that's exactly what's happened to us.
Yeah,
that's what happens. You get the perfect guys that want to build what you want to build and align your values, and
and your team changes, like your
team
for everyone, like everyone. When you can really deep dive and delve in and create a mission statement that shows all your values, like it flows through all your team, your suppliers, like everyone connects with you on a more personal level, don't they?
Yeah.
Like people will hunt you down because they're interested in the same thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's huge for anyone starting out, is just get a super clear vision, mission, and values. Super simple. Yeah. And then explain it to your clients and your team and repeat it all the time.
Yeah. Mate, before we wrap up, like anything you want to tell the listeners or put out to the world?
You can check out our architecture site, align.build. I've got a book coming out that explain how to build your dream home.
Yeah.
So it goes through what a dream home is and our 6 elements, like our 6 element process, and then how to work together with your architect, builder and client and the process. So
yeah, awesome.
That'll be out pretty soon, so you can find that on the Align website as well.
It's going to be an Audible, mate.
I'll do an Audible, yeah. That's pretty much it. You can find me on Instagram at Luke Davies to build if you want to shoot us a message and got any questions.
Awesome, mate. Well, really appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on and having a chat. I have been looking forward to talking to you for a while. I've only ever heard good things about you, so keep doing what you do and smashing it out, and I look forward to following your journey from here on. So look, as usual, if you like this podcast, like, share, subscribe, stay tuned, and look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Are you ready to build smarter, live better and enjoy life? Then head over to livelikebuild.com/elevate to get started.
Everything discussed during the Level Up podcast with me, Duayne Pearce, is based solely on my own personal experiences and those experiences of my guests. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. We recommend that you obtain your own professional advice in respect to the topics discussed during this podcast.